Dishonored 2 is released and it's got some problems. Let's chat about it in the comments below, but first, my opinion. I'm Tarmack, and this is a little extra feature creep. So, recently, Bethesda made known their now public policy on review code for game media. I've already tackled that issue directly, but let's quickly summarize. Bethesda wants everyone to play the game at the same time, according to their post on the matter. Press get review code a day early, and gamers who could pre-order the game get Dishonored 2, for example, a day early as well. This is essentially equivalent to zero-day review code, which requires Game Press to rush their reviews. However, Bethesda did still provide certain outlets coverage, and have historically also given Skyrim Special Edition to enthusiast YouTubers and streamers long in advance, calling into question the everyone play at the same time thing. And all of this was justified because they did the same thing with Doom, and Doom turned out really well on launch. Fast forward to yesterday-ish, and people are now playing Dishonored 2. Unfortunately, there are significant performance issues, some of which I've experienced myself. I run on an i7-5820K and a GTX 970, so as far as benchmarks are concerned, I'm right around where the recommended spec for the game is, at least as far as the graphics card is concerned, a bit ahead on processor. And it auto-detected settings for me, pegged it high in the game options. The first bit was fine, but as soon as I entered bigger areas or had more going on screen, I began to get significant frame rate drops down into the 30s and 40s. And I'm not alone. We've received a couple of acknowledgements from Bethesda and Arkane on the topic of these issues. Harvey Smith from Arkane tweeted out that they're investigating issues that some people are having, and Bethesda updated the FAQ for Dishonored 2 with a pretty unfortunate tone. Quote, "We are aware that some of you may be encountering issues with Dishonored 2 on PC. Please take a moment to review our recommendations to help better your experience." End quote. Could they have more removed themselves from the situation? That quote was followed by a number of solutions, including such things as avoiding alt-tabbing out of the game and dropping your resolution. This effectively says that the game isn't having problems, rather that PC users have their settings or expectations too high for a game clearly intended to support 60 frames per second, clearly marketed with 60 FPS trailers, used even with the auto-detected graphical settings the game chooses based on your system hardware. That you can resolve these issues by dropping performance settings feels a little disingenuous at best. Since then, Bethesda made a post that a patch is being worked on to resolve these issues that some people are having. My problem with the whole thing is that there's little to no chance that this is a surprise to them. And yet, quote, "We are disheartened that some of you are experiencing PC performance issues on some systems." End quote. This kind of thing is why a bunch of us on the game media side of the coin were a bit spooked when Bethesda changed their review code policy. I myself have never gotten review code for a Bethesda game, and even before that rule, I didn't expect that I would get Dishonored 2 because I'm still a small fish in a very large pond. But I do still acknowledge that I'm part of game media in some capacity. It rubbed me the wrong way to see an element of consumer protection that has historically been there get removed from the equation for them. And I think that the very carefully crafted message was directly intended as an attack against game media by reminding gamers that reviewers often play games earlier, but by not talking about why that is done. For those who are unaware, it quite simply is so the reviewer can take their time with the game to have their video or article ready for launch rather than feel rushed and give a poor review as a result. Stoking a rivalry between reviewers and customers of games is not helpful in the slightest. So with the release of Dishonored 2, I think we can see at least one reason why they made the decision to restrict review code. I want to call attention to the video card that I have. It's an NVIDIA GTX 970. Of all of the video cards on Steam, this is the most common single card on the market. So, short of incompetence or willful ignorance, it is absolutely certain that both Bethesda and Arkane Studios knew that PC gamers would have issues with this game. If the most common card, the one you're definitely going to be testing with, using auto-detected graphics settings, set to high for the record, with very high and ultra still being optional if you wanted to go that far, if that card has frame rate drops from 60 down to 40 or even 30 frames per second in places, this issue will not have gone unnoticed before launch. I've seen a few people online trying to defend this even further by saying getting mad at Bethesda isn't valid because they didn't develop the game, they just published it. Understand that these large-scale titles are very collaborative efforts. Bethesda is just as responsible in this as Arkane Studios is, precisely because there are 52 QA personnel from testers to leads to director that were involved on the Bethesda side and are in the game credits. And of course, Bethesda is who mandates the release window and pushes for launch despite problems. The decision to limit review code also comes from Bethesda directly, so that line of argument holds no water. The question that you need to ask yourself is very simple. Is Bethesda, in this particular case, there are of course others, worth giving the benefit of the doubt? If it was nothing but quality products with very few issues being provided, I could see some justification there. But right now, Doom is a diamond in the rough level of quality from Bethesda these days. Every launch is plagued with massive issues, and by attempting to divert blame, not taking ownership of the fact that these performance problems did not surprise them in any way, leads me to believe that at this stage, people defending them over it is mere fanboyism. Gamers in general need to do a better job of understanding that loyalty is earned and that companies are not really your friend. Though I do think it's important to acknowledge that, and this will be a future video at some point, while the game companies aren't constructed to care about you as gamers, the individual developers usually do, because to them it's less business and more art. So lay off the personal attacks if you can manage it. A cooperative effort between game publishers and game media is a good thing. It's a check and balance that ensures a raft of coverage on opening day that a publisher can benefit from if they make a good product, and that gamers can benefit from if the product is bad. Right now, Dishonored 2 is a textbook case of why no review code being sent is a red flag to be cautious of. If you advertise a game at 60 frames per second that is clearly capable of supporting 60 frames per second, but that has major performance issues such that even a recommended spec computer can't keep up with the settings the game itself assigns to you, that's non-functional and should not be acceptable on the market. And with almost half and half positive and negative reviews on Steam, it's hardly only some gamers who are having issues. If they can fix this by way of patch, that's great. Forgive, but don't forget. And for the love of all that's good for the wallet, when a company does this kind of thing just about every time they release a game, I don't give them the benefit of the doubt because frankly, it's not in my best interests to trust in advance. Have you had a chance to play Dishonored 2? Did you refund it like I did? Let's chat about this issue down below. Feature Creep is a regular show on the channel, and this episode kind of diverted the video I intended to put up today as something of a bit of an extra topic. That video will be up tomorrow. Check the link in the description to hop onto my Discord server and chat. That's all I have to say. Tarmack out.